The Hawaiian Islands have become the proving grounds for the most outrageous sailboarders in the world. The combination of the trade winds, powerful waves make for ideal conditions. Hawaii is the ultimate competition arena and home of the Oneill Invitational, the Super Bowl of wave performance.
Hello everyone, I'm David Stanfield, and this is Hukipa Beach Park, the site of the Oneill Invitational Wave Sailing Championships. It is the largest and most prestigious event of its kind, featuring 122 competitors from 12 different countries. And the superstars of the sport are here.
Pioneers like Robbie Nash, Matt Schweitzer, and Mike Waltz. These world champions and all the sailors here set no boundaries. They consistently challenge their skills in the most demanding conditions. Hukipa Beach, the sky's the limit.
It's looking great. I mean, can't ask for much more. We've got wind, we've got waves. It's a perfect day for the beach.
It looks good. Almost every year it looks better than the last year. So there's always a whole lot of guys that are really coming on strong and looking good. So it's going to be tough.
Everybody's really looking good. So I'm just thinking positively that you know, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna make it to the finals and really try and do well in this contest.
Four years ago, the legendary Jack Oneill, the wetsuit wizard, first produced the Invitational Wave Sailing Championships. His purpose was to showcase the finest athletes in the sport and to make a positive statement for the future of sailboarding. The Oneill family did just that. Today, the Oneill Invitational is state-of-the-art competition and has become the most prestigious event of its kind.
In windsurfing, I think this is the biggest event of the year. It's certainly the most spectacular, the wave riding. We're at the location here where we have the biggest waves and the most consistent wind for windsurf. It's a time of year we can get the top riders from all around the world. I think most all of the top wind wave riders are here today.
Just north of the sugarcane village of Paia is Hukipa Park. Hukipa is not only invaded by the world's greatest sailboarders, but this half-moon bay also attracts thousands of spectators.
Well, the windsurfing sport has tremendously helped Paia town in general and also the county of Maui. About 3 years ago, when Oneill first brought in the first world windsurfing ship sport here, it's grown tremendously and it's continually growing.
The show is not only in the water, it's on the beach too. Spectators, photographers, and enthusiasts will sit on this beach for hours at a time, completely mesmerized by one of the most dazzling spectator sports of our decade. And what you are about to witness is our exclusive highlights of the 4th annual Oneill Invitational.
In the name of Robbie Nash, two-time World Cup champion, defending title holder here at the Oneill. And Robbie won his first world championship.
$10,000 is just part of the reason to compete in the Oneill Invitational. The other reason is competition. Wave sailing is composed of 3 basic maneuvers. First, there's jumping, sailing out through the surf and getting airborne. Second, there's wave riding, similar to surfing but with the added power of the sail. Finally, transitions, sailing from one tack to another. In other words, doing a 180-degree turn. The speed and maneuverability has given thousands of sailors a go-for-it attitude in the waves.
basically the wave riding and the wave jumping and the basically aerial loops have they've been perfecting them year after year, and it looks like this year they're actually pulling off a few of the loops and the highest jumps and just the most radical styling you could imagine.
The most spectacular of the three scoring maneuvers are the jumps. Today's sailors are getting higher, flying farther, and getting more twisted in the air. Radical is the only word to describe the most difficult high-risk maneuver, the elusive 360-degree aerial loop.
The loop is extremely dangerous. I wouldn't recommend anyone going out and just trying it. It's a extremely difficult maneuver, and once you leave the wave and you're getting up 20, 30 feet in the air and looping around, it's an exhilaration and a feeling of total weightlessness, and actually you don't really have much control over what you're doing. You just let the wind carry you around, and hopefully you end up landing back on top of your board and sail away from it.
Is critical. If your timing is off, you'll go down, then possibly lose your rig, or even possibly lose your heat, and end up in the loser's bracket. But what's worse is being washed up on the reef. And no one here wants to be a star. The Oneill Invitational consists of three classes, the men's, women's, and the masters. This year's contest started off with the masters. The masters is a nice way of saying you're over 30. Truth is, most of these guys have been around the surfing world for years. Now sailboarding is the new game in town. The masters are made up of the famous and the not so famous, like 32-year-old David Collignon and 36-year-old surf star and bonsai pipeline great Jerry Lopez. Conditions were prime time for the Masters competition. Northeast trade winds blew through Hookip at about 25 miles per hour, with up to 14-foot wave faces bashing the North Shore. These ideal conditions made for great semifinal action that featured one of Maui's favorite local sailors.
Just right down the beach here, not more than a quarter of a mile, lives the world's fastest sailor. His name is Fred Haywood, and he owns 2 of the 5 world speed sailing records.
Quite frankly, I really think I'm living my dream right now. I live on the ocean. I got a little place where I can get out through the rocks here right behind my backyard, and I sail right up to Hookip and do some wave sailing there, and then I do some speed runs down the coast. So to have this good of a sailing right in your own backyard, I couldn't imagine living anywhere else in the world. This is so perfect.
Standing in at 6'3" and 200 pounds, homegrown Fred Haywood hooked into the sport only 6 years ago. 4 years later, he claimed a world speed sailing record in Weymouth, England. He did a speed run that averaged 37.5 miles per hour. That's faster than most speedboats pulling a competition slalom water skier.
I learned to sail from Mike Waltz, and after I got a little proficient on my sail, I realized that in the high winds, I would beat Mike Waltz, and he was the best in the world. And I thought, my gosh, I'm just a nobody, and he would really notice it, and he says, gosh, Fred, you really have an advantage in the speed. And along with Arnaud de Ronay, they convinced me to go into the speeds in 1983 in Weymouth, where I set a world speed record of 30.82 knots.
Fred's been a champion all his life, winning the National Backstroke Swimming Championship at the age of 17, followed by a silver medal at the Pan Am Games. Now at 35, he's not just a survivor.
When I set the world speed record, I could sense I was doing it because I could feel the vibration in the bottom of the board. It's almost as if it's a musical instrument, and the harder you strum it, the more sound you make. Well, the higher the vibration I could feel on the bottom of the board, I could tell I was going fast, and I knew I was breaking the record.
Shortly after the Oneill Invitational, Fred's world speed record was surpassed by 7 international sailors in optimum conditions in France.
I take one day at a time. That's Maui style. I live to work out that day that I'm living in, and sure, there might be some challenges ahead of going faster, riding more fun waves, or adventuring around the world chasing wind and waves. But for the time being, I just want to remain on Maui, keep sailing a lot, because I'm not sailing to go faster as much as I'm sailing to have fun. And if I can keep on fooling everybody and make a living having fun, that's the ultimate dream, I think.
In order for Fred Haywood to continue living his Maui lifestyle, he'll most likely try to recapture the overall speed title. Today, at the Oneill Invitational, for Fred, it was a disappointing 4th place. The final matchup came down to Jerry Lopez and David Collignon.
I'm ready now. I'm going to go get him. I feel good. I feel like I'm going to win.
Collignon dazzled the judges with his downwind bottom turns and aggressive style. This combination made the winning difference for Collignon.
I won. All right. I was taking my time getting over that wave. Just I felt comfortable today. I was just trying to ride waves without falling. I'm not a jumper, and my wave riding, I just had to try to be consistent and see how I can get by.
Sailboarding is primarily dominated by men, but there are a few exceptions. Compared to the men, women do have certain disadvantages. The main disadvantage is the lack of upper body strength that is so important in handling high-performance sailboarding equipment. Here at Hukipa, the women's stamina and endurance are constantly being challenged by the strong trades and powerful waves.
Sometimes I made some bad mistakes and we get wiped out early in my heat and I end up swimming the whole time. But the contest, that can happen. You know, you only have 8 minutes and you either have good luck or you have bad luck. So can't let it get you down.
The women do have more advantages than meet the eye. They're lighter, which helps them plane in marginal wind conditions. And they are, of course, agile. But you know, one of their greatest assets is their competition attitude.
It's really emotional sometimes because when we first started competing in the waves and stuff, you know, it was hard to compete against friends, you know, but you just get used to it and you separate the two totally, and it makes it a lot better on you and on all your competitors. You know, we don't want to feel bad vibes against anybody, so we make the best of it. You know, it's all in fun anyway, right? What? Oh, it's almost.
Hello everyone, I'm David Stanfield, and this is Hukipa Beach Park, the site of the Oneill Invitational Wave Sailing Championships. It is the largest and most prestigious event of its kind, featuring 122 competitors from 12 different countries. And the superstars of the sport are...
It's looking great. I mean, can't ask for much more. We've got wind, we've got waves. It's a perfect day for the beach.
It looks good. Almost every year it looks better than the last year. So there's always a whole lot of guys that are really coming on.
We're here. Pioneers like Robbie Nash, Matt Schweitzer, and Mike Waltz. These world champions and all the sailors here set no boundaries. They consistently challenge their skills in the most demanding conditions. To keep a beach, the sky's the limit. The Hawaiian Islands have become the proving grounds for the most outrageous sailboarders in the world. The combination of the trade winds, powerful waves make for ideal conditions. Hawaii is the ultimate competition arena and home of the Oneill Invitational, the Super Bowl of wave performance.